The man suspected of kidnapping her is now accused of killing her.
Kidnap me again. Investigators say that's one of the last messages Kada Scott would ever send. Tonight, the text and timeline reveal how the 23-year-old went from missing to murdered.
So y'all remember Kada Scott, the young sister we've been praying for, hoping she'd come home safe? Well, the court documents just dropped, and I need y'all to hear what they found on her phone.
Kidnap me again. Investigators say that's one of the last messages Kada Scott would ever send.
Girl, kidnap me again. And 20 minutes after she got in his car that night, she was gone. Let me tell you something. This case just got a whole lot more complicated. This is Kada Scott, 23 years old. Look at her in this video, excited, trying on the dress she was going to wear as a bridesmaid in her friend's wedding. Look at that smile. Look at that joy. This was supposed to be her future. Her friend Pri met Kada at Penn State University. They stayed close after graduation. And when Pri got engaged, Kada was one of the first people she asked to stand beside her. The dress was ready. The plans were set. Kada was looking forward to celebrating her friend's big day. But on October 4th, 2025, something happened that changed everything. And now, investigators have revealed text messages that show what Kada was saying in the hours before she lost her life. Messages that raise questions about what their relationship really was. And evidence that shows at least 3 people were involved in what happened to her. The Philadelphia Medical Examiner has ruled Kada Scott's death a homicide. Keon King, the 21-year-old who was already charged with kidnapping and conspiracy, is now facing murder charges along with 19 other criminal counts.
The affidavit of probable cause states, supporting homicide, abuse of corpse, and conspiracy charges among 11 more crimes filed against King.
We talking about abuse of corpse, robbery, arson, and firearm violations. Law enforcement sources have confirmed that Kada Scott was shot, and investigators say she lost her life within 20 minutes of getting into King's car that night. But here's what makes this case even more disturbing. Police found evidence at a house where King went after. A house where 2 women lived. A house where investigators found contractor bags, a hammer, and ammunition. Those women were detained, questioned, and released. But the question remains, what did they know? And were they the accomplices caught on surveillance helping to move Kada's body? Let me walk you through what we now know. Because court documents have revealed a timeline that shows this wasn't random. This was coordinated, and multiple people played a role.
Her mom, her papa too. I want to thank the doctor, the hospital, everyone previously on her roster who messed up. Now a chance for her not optional. That's my queen. I want to go to space just so I could give her a star. I know she's probably tired of running through my mind. I gotta get her a car. If you got any letters or mail for her, just send it to me. And she lives in my heart. She brings everything to the whole table. She's not just a snack, she's the whole label. That's not just my baby, that's the whole cradle. If your girl is all that in a bag of chips, then mine is all that in a whole potato. And so what if she's a snorer? I adore her. And when she's away, off to sleep in her bed, I reread our messages and everything that we've said, just so I can still at least speak to her in my head. I love being with her. I'm always smiling. You should see my whole face. I want to be with her till we're in old age. People always ask, you got a girl? I say, I got a soulmate. She is to me, dang. I know, right? Basically. I want to thank God for making her possible.
Right now at 11, murder charges in the death of Kada Scott. The man suspected of kidnapping her is now accused of killing her. Thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Jacqueline London.
And I'm Fred Shropshire. While investigators have not yet revealed how she died, we are learning more about the conversations leading up to her death. It's been a long month for the Scott family. Scott was reported missing after she vanished 18 days ago during her overnight shift at a nursing home in Northeast Philadelphia. And then on October 14th, Keon King turned himself over to police. He was charged with kidnapping.
And the very next day, police searched near an abandoned school. There was no sign of Kada Scott in that area. A tip led police back to that same area 4 days later, and that's when Scott's body was found. Then King faced another round of charges. That brings us to this afternoon when police announced a third set of charges against King. He is facing about 20 charges in all, including murder, abuse of a corpse, arson, stalking, and robbery.
The investigation is far from over. Court documents give us a closer look at the last text messages leading up to her disappearance and death. NBC 10's Shaira Arias is live in Germantown, where the city hosted a safety meeting blocks away from where Scott's body was found. What did they say about the case, Shaira?
Fred, great question, because the first thing that Mayor Sherelle Parker said was that she was not going to get into the investigation or give details about the investigation of Kada Scott. But what we are able to see with these court documents was that last conversation, what Kada was saying to King that night that she disappeared.
Yes, sir. It's heartbreaking for what happened to Jada and her family.
Kathy Warsinger was one of the many people who lives in Germantown to show up to Wednesday night's community safety town hall meeting. The same community that continues to grapple with the trauma of recently losing one of their own, 23-year-old Kada Scott.
This was someone that we all, in some way or another, connected to.
On Wednesday, 21-year-old Keon King, who was recently charged with kidnapping Scott, was charged with murder and other offenses after officials ruled Scott's cause of death a homicide. Court documents obtained by our news partners at KYW detail critical cell phone evidence that places King's cell phone where Kada was last seen, as well where her body was found. According to the documents, on October 4th, the night Scott disappeared, as she was on her way to work in Chestnut Hill, she received a dozen calls from a number linked to King. Investigators say King texted Kada, letting her know he had a new number. Kada asked who it was. King then replied, Kel, as the two made plans to meet up. That same night, Kada wrote, "Kidnap me again." King replied, "Better be up to." Officials say their last exchange was at 10:09, when Kada texted King to call her when he arrived. A co-worker of Scott told police they heard Scott upset that night. Police say Scott was last seen leaving her job in a 2008 Hyundai, the same vehicle police say was stolen and later intentionally set on fire on October 7th. Cell phone activity shows Scott and King arrived at the Auberry Rec Center's parking lot the night she disappeared. Sources tell NBC 10 they believe Scott was killed 20 to 30 minutes after she went missing. Police say surveillance video of the rec center captured two people arriving and exiting King's vehicle, but then just hours later, two suspects are seen removing from the vehicle what they believe to be someone's body and placing it in the area where Scott's remains were found. Police say the investigation into Scott's murder is far from over.
Recovering Kada's body was not the outcome we had hoped for, but we are grateful that we were able to bring her home.
Commissioner Kevin Bethel vowing to hold everyone accountable in her murder responsible.
We continue to pursue anyone who helped, who concealed, who participated in this act. We will not stop.
And just want to let all the residents here in Germantown know that here at True Light Fellowship Church, starting tomorrow at 10 a.m., they are going to be offering resources for those residents who just simply want to talk to someone who need help navigating the tragedy that happened here in Germantown. In Germantown, Shaira Arias, NBC 10 News.
Now, investigators say they don't know what Kada meant by "kidnap me again." Was she referencing something that happened before? Was it playful language between them? Some kind of inside joke or code? Authorities have said there's no indication of any previous incident involving the two. But that text exists, and it shows they were planning to meet. What we do know is that on October 4th, Kada received a dozen phone calls from a number linked to King. Court documents show that King texted her, letting her know he had a new number. Kada asked who it was. King replied with one word, Kel, apparently a nickname he went by. And then they continued making plans. The final text exchange happened at 10:09 p.m. Kada wrote, "CM when you hear." Investigators say CM stands for call me, meaning call me when you arrive. That was the last text Kada Scott would ever send. Now here's where the timeline gets critical. Because a coworker of Kada's at the terrace at Chestnut Hill, the assisted living facility where she worked, told police something important about that night. Around 10 p.m., the coworker said she saw Kada outside the building. She was on the phone and she appeared upset. The witness overheard Kada saying, "I can't believe you're calling me about this," followed by an expletive. So Kada was arguing with someone on the phone. She was frustrated. She was upset about something. And shortly after that call, a witness saw her get into a dark-colored SUV that immediately drove off. Now, we don't know who Kada was talking to during that phone call. Personally, I don't think it was King because of the nature of the conversation she was having with the person over the phone. But I stand to be corrected. It could have been someone else. Maybe the person she had been on a date with earlier that night at Topgolf. Maybe her partner, or maybe a friend. The police have her phone records, and I'm sure they know exactly who called her at that time. But they haven't said anything publicly yet. What we do know is what happened next. At 10:15 p.m., cell phone data shows that Kada Scott and Keon King were together near her workplace. This is based on the location pings from both of their phones. It would be the last time Kada was seen alive. At 10:24 p.m., 9 minutes later, Kada Scott's phone went dark. Law enforcement sources say that's when she was shot. Within 20 to 30 minutes of going missing, Kada Scott lost her life. Let that sink in. From the time she got into that car to the time she was gone, 20 minutes. Whatever happened in that vehicle happened fast. 4 minutes after her phone went dark at 10:28 p.m., surveillance cameras captured the stolen black Hyundai Accent parking at Aubrey Recreation Center, right next to Ada Lewis Middle School, where her body would eventually be found. And that car stayed there for 2.5 days with Kada's body inside. But King didn't just park the car and leave. Cell phone tracking shows what he did next. And this is where we learn about the house, the accomplices, the evidence that shows other people were involved. Investigators tracked King's phone to the 5500 block of Belmar Terrace in Southwest Philadelphia. Police executed a search warrant on that house. And what they found raises serious questions. Inside the home, officers recovered contractor bags, a hammer, ammunition, items that could be used in exactly the kind of crime Kada Scott's body showed evidence of. 2 women lived at that house. Police detained them, questioned them, and then released them. King was not at the house when police searched it. But here's what's significant. King's cell phone was tracked making multiple trips between that Belmar Terrace house and the area where Kada's body was found, back and forth, multiple times. So what was happening during those trips? Was he going back to get help? Was he getting supplies? Were those women involved in planning or covering up what happened? We don't know yet, but the fact that police found contractor bags and his phone pinged there repeatedly, that's not a coincidence. Then, on October 5th, the day after Kada disappeared, surveillance footage shows something crucial. At 11:39 p.m., King's gold Toyota Camry was caught on camera returning to the Aubrey Recreation Center parking lot, the same lot where the stolen Hyundai with Kada's body had been sitting for over a day. The footage shows 2 people getting out of that Toyota, which means someone else drove that car away after dropping them off. A third person, an accomplice we haven't identified yet. And then, those 2 people who got out, they waited for 4 hours, just standing there in that parking lot, waiting until almost 4 a.m., when the area would be completely empty. At 3:56 a.m., surveillance cameras captured those 2 individuals approaching the Hyundai Accent. They opened it, and they removed what court documents described as a heavy object consistent with a human body. They carried that object toward the wooded area behind Ada Lewis Middle School, the same area where Kada Scott's remains would be found 2 weeks later. After they moved the body, the Hyundai was seen driving out of the parking lot. And on October 7th, 3 days after Kada disappeared, Philadelphia police responded to a vehicle fire. That black Hyundai Accent burned, intentionally set on fire to destroy evidence. The car was later compacted at a junkyard. So we have King. We have at least 2 other people helping move Kada's body. We have a third person driving the Toyota away. And we have 2 women at a house where King's phone kept pinging and where police found suspicious items. Like, how many people were involved in this? And why haven't the accomplices been charged yet? Philadelphia Police Commissioner Kevin Bethel addressed this directly during a community town hall. He said, "We continue to pursue anyone who helped, who concealed, who participated in this act. We will not stop. The investigation is ongoing. They know there are accomplices. They're working to identify everyone involved, and they're building cases to hold each person accountable." On October 22nd, 2025, 18 days after Kada disappeared, the Philadelphia District Attorney filed murder charges against Keon King. He's also now facing nearly 20 total charges, including abuse of corpse, robbery, theft, arson, tampering with evidence, causing or risking catastrophe, possession of instruments of crime, and multiple firearm violations.
This is the stuff that I watch on TV, in crime shows, scripts. To see this happen to someone so close to me.
Priya is describing what goes through her mind when she thinks about her friend Kada Scott. The two met while attending Penn State University. She says losing Kada has been a nightmare she still cannot fully understand.
It hurts because I kept replaying this in my mind that she didn't even stand a chance. You can give her a week, you can give her a few days, you can give her anything. Everyone was so hopeful that we would find her, that she would be alive.
Just a few weeks ago, she tells us Scott was getting ready to be one of her bridesmaids. Priya sharing this video of Scott excited, trying on the dress she was going to wear.
She was the type of person that she said she was going to do it. She was going to do it. She followed through all the way. And that is just something that I'm really, really proud of her for.
On Tuesday, dozens of community members gathered once again to remember the 23-year-old woman whose life ended too soon. A prayer service was held, along with a balloon release, at the vacant Ada Lewis Middle School near where Scott's body was found.
Kada Scott will always be, to me and to us, the forever Miss Philadelphia.
Community members vowing to keep Scott's memory alive.
We're going to have a law called the Kada Scott Law, so that women, Black women, all women who are going through domestic violence will know that we are with them.
Scott went missing on October 4th. Her body was found 2 weeks later. 21-year-old Keon King faces charges for kidnapping Scott and other related offenses. Police sources tell NBC 10 officials are looking at the possibility a second person may be involved. As the investigation continues, so does a push to demolish the abandoned property. For 2 days in a row, workers focused on clearing shrubs and debris at the school. Councilwoman Cindy Bass sent out a letter to the Philadelphia School District demanding leaders tear down the vacant building. The school district released a statement saying they are reviewing protocols for the former school. And out here, as you can see, Kada Scott's memorial continues to grow while we are waiting to hear back from officials her cause of death. In Germantown, Shaira Arias, NBC 10 News.
King is being held on $500,000 cash bail, and he's due back in court for arraignment on the murder charge. The community has been waiting for this moment, waiting for the word murder to be attached to King's name. Because everyone knew. From the moment Kada's body was found, everyone knew this wasn't just kidnapping. This was something far worse. And now with these murder charges filed, the focus shifts to one question. Who else will be charged? Because the evidence is clear. Multiple people were involved. The surveillance footage shows at least 2 people moving Kada's body. Someone drove that Toyota Camry away. King's phone pinged repeatedly at a house where 2 women lived, and those women were questioned and released. So are charges coming for them? The district attorney won't say yet. They're calling it an active and ongoing investigation. But the community wants answers, and they want justice.
Breaking right now at 4 o'clock, the Philadelphia medical examiner has now ruled Kada Scott's death a homicide. That laid word from police this afternoon, who now say they're recommending murder charges against Keon King, the man already charged in her disappearance. All this happening just hours after new court documents reveal details about phone calls and text messages between King and Scott on the very day she went missing. It is Wednesday afternoon. I'm Brian Taft.
And I'm Sarah Bloomquist. The big story on Action News is the major development in the Kada Scott death investigation. While we now know her death has been ruled a homicide, we still don't know exactly how she died.
Action News reporter Chad Perdelli live at East Mount Airy with all the developments today. Quite a busy day, Chad.
Yeah, like you said, the Philadelphia Police Department announced just a few moments ago that the medical examiner had ruled that Kada Scott's death was a homicide. It was announced on Twitter by Deputy Commissioner Frank Venor. Now, I do know how Kada Scott was murdered. We're not releasing that information, making sure that the family has been notified. But police department is recommending to the DA to file those murder charges, and just a few of the new details we're learning about the disappearance and murder of Kada Scott. Keon King's alleged criminal conspiracy began just before midnight on October 3rd, when court records say he stole a Hyundai Accent left unattended and running by a food delivery worker on the 6600 block of Sprague. Investigators say he'd used that stolen car to meet up with Kada Scott the following night. Charging documents say Scott and King made plans to meet up, with the final exchange between the two being, quote, "CM when you hear." 6 minutes later at 10:15 p.m., investigators say the two appeared to be together near Scott's place of employment based on cell phone data. It'd be the last time Scott would be seen alive. At 10:24 p.m., Kada Scott's phone goes offline. 4 minutes later, the Hyundai Accent parks at the Arboretum, and the vehicle remains there. Using cell phone technology, investigators track King to this house on the 5500 block of Belmar Terrace. A search of the house turned up contractor bags, a hammer, and ammunition, among other items, according to the complaint. 2 women who live there were detained and interviewed but released. King was not at the house. The criminal complaint says King's cell phone was tracked taking multiple trips between the Belmar Terrace home and the area where Scott's body was found. At 11:39 p.m. on October 5th, court records say King's registered Toyota Camry was caught on surveillance returning and parking at the recreation center next door to where Scott's body was found. It says 2 people exited the vehicle, and 4 hours later, 2 individuals appeared to take a large object consistent with the body out of the Hyundai Accent. And so far, King is charged with kidnapping, theft, arson, and other related charges, but so far not murder, but those charges are expected, I'm told. No other accomplices at this point have been charged. Police continue to investigate, though. I did reach out to King's attorney, and so far have not heard back. I'm live in East Mount Airy. Chad Perdelli, Channel 6, Action News. Back to you guys.
Okay, Chad, thank you. As you heard there in Chad's report, police are trying to piece together the communication between Kada Scott and Keon King in the days and hours before her disappearance. One particular text that's now part of the investigation was sent at 10:07 a.m. on October 4th, nearly 12 hours before Scott disappeared. In it, she texted the words, quote, "Kidnap me again," to a number that police have now linked to King. The reply that came back, quote, "better be up too," which was followed by specific plans to meet later that night. We were asking police if they can shed light on the context of that alarming exchange. We do not yet have a response.
The memorial outside Ada Lewis Middle School remains. People keep adding to it. Flowers, balloons, notes telling Kada she's loved, she's missed, she mattered. And she did matter. She does matter.
Kada Scott will always be to me and to us the forever Miss Philadelphia.
Community members vowing to keep Scott's memory alive.
We're going to have a law called the Kada Scott Law, so that women, black women, all women who are going through domestic violence will know that we are with them.
Scott went missing on October 4th. Her body was found 2 weeks later. 21-year-old Keon King faces charges for kidnapping Scott and other related offenses. Police sources tell NBC 10 officials are looking at the possibility a second person may be involved. As the investigation continues, so does a push to demolish the abandoned property. For 2 days in a row, workers focused on clearing shrubs and debris at the school. Councilwoman Cindy Bass sent out a letter to the Philadelphia School District demanding leaders tear down the vacant building. The school district released a statement saying they are reviewing protocols for the former school.
Kada Scott was a daughter, a sister, a friend, a businesswoman, a caregiver, a young woman full of potential who deserved to live the life she was building. She deserved to stand in that bridesmaid dress at her friend's wedding. She deserved to keep growing her beauty business. She deserved to keep helping elderly residents. She deserved to keep pursuing her dreams. Instead, she's gone, and a family is left with memories and grief and questions that may never be fully answered. But what we can do is make sure her name isn't forgotten. Make sure the people who took her life face full justice. Make sure the system changes so the next young woman has a better chance. Make sure Kada's light continues to shine through the kindness we show each other. Keon King is facing murder charges and 19 other criminal counts. He's being held on $500,000 cash bail. The investigation continues. More charges are expected. More people may be arrested. And the community will keep watching, keep pushing, keep demanding that everyone involved answers for what they did. Period. Because Kada Scott deserved better. She deserved to live. She deserved her future. And the least we can do now is make sure she gets justice. Less than an hour after the medical examiner's ruling, the Philadelphia Health Department announced that Kada Scott died of a gunshot wound to the head. While we know how she died, there's still so many questions about why she was killed, and the community is not letting up until they get those answers. The abandoned Ada Lewis Middle School building stands as a reminder of what happens when communities are neglected, when vacant properties become danger zones, when systemic failures pile up until tragedy strikes. Councilwoman Cindy Bass said it best when she demanded that building be torn down. It's not just about removing an eyesore. It's about showing this community that their safety matters, that their concerns are heard, that Black women and girls are valued and protected. Moving on to what comes next. The legal process will continue. King's arraignment, the trial, the testimonies, the evidence presented in court. But for Kada's family, no verdict will bring her back. No sentence will ease their pain. No justice in a courtroom will fill the hole she left in their lives. What they're asking for is that we remember her. Really remember her. Not just as a headline, not just as a case number, but as Kada, the woman who smiled in that video, trying on her dress. The woman who cared for elderly people with patience and love. The woman who was building a business. The woman who showed up for her friends. That's the Kada they want us to carry forward. And as for us, as a community, as a society, we have to ask ourselves hard questions. How many more Kadas do we lose before we fix these systems? How many more families have to stand at memorials before we take violence against Black women seriously? How many more vacant buildings become crime scenes before we invest in our neighborhoods? Girl, these are the conversations we need to keep having. Not just when tragedy strikes, but every single day. Because prevention starts with awareness, with resources, with holding people accountable before it's too late. Rest in peace, Kada Scott. Forever, Miss Philadelphia. Your community will never forget you, your smile, your kindness, your light, the woman you were and the woman you were becoming. We're going to keep fighting for justice, for you, for every woman who came before you, for every woman who comes after. And to everyone watching, if you have any information about this case, about the accomplices, about anything that can help bring full justice, please call Philadelphia police. Don't let fear or loyalty to the wrong people keep you silent. Kada's family deserves the complete truth. To Kada's family, we see you. We're with you. This community is holding you up. And we won't stop pushing until everyone responsible is held accountable. That's it for this update on Kada Scott's case. I said what I said. If you've been following this story with us, drop a comment and let us know your thoughts. Subscribe to Unheard Cries TV because we're going to keep covering this case as it develops. We're going to be there for the trial. We're going to be there for the verdict. We're going to make sure Kada's voice is heard. And we're going to keep shining a light on domestic violence, on violence against Black women, and on the systemic failures that allow these tragedies to happen. Until next time, stay safe out there, look out for each other, and never stop demanding justice.